Welcome to A Changed Life. This is a podcast about choosing differently, how you think, how you relate, and how you lead yourself. Here we focus on the inner shifts that create real momentum and open up what's possible next. Welcome back to the podcast. This is Ilyse. I'm so happy that you're here. If you're new here, I'm so glad you found your way to the podcast. And if you have been a listener from the start, I want to thank you so much. So today, we're going to talk about the thing that keeps most people from even getting to the kind of question that could really change things. And what I'm referring to is this concept of being terminally unique, or our terminal uniqueness. You are genuinely, absolutely, completely one of a kind. And I couldn't take that from you even if I wanted to, but of course I don't want to. I'm also one of a kind. But there is a version of that uniqueness that becomes a ceiling. So let me explain to you what I'm talking about and what this sounds like. Because I've heard this many times in my practice. It would sound something like this. I get it. I know. That makes perfect sense for other people, but that doesn't apply to me, or that won't work in my situation. My circumstances are different. That's easy to say, but my partner, with my history, with my finances, with my family, with my health history, it's complicated in ways that really don't apply here. Or what I'm dealing with is actually not like anybody else. Any of that sound familiar? Here's what I want you to hear that's so important. That story, as convincing as it feels, as real as it is to you, is the most universal human experience there is. Over the last decade, I have sat with hundreds of people across every kind of situation that you can imagine. Different backgrounds, different relationships, different kinds of loss, different kinds of grieving, different kinds of betrayal, different kinds of fear. And almost every single one of them at some point has said some version of, yes, but, yeah, but, making their situation different. And almost every single one of them was wrong about that. Not about the details. The details were different. But the underlying pattern, the fear, the self-protection, the belief that the rules of change somehow apply to everyone except them. All of that is identical in what I've heard through all of these years. And here's the rub. Here's the paradox I want you to really sit with. You are uniquely you. Your fingerprint, your soul, your specific combination of gifts and wounds and history and memories, they're irreplaceable. Completely and utterly one of a kind. And your fear of the unknown, your worst case thinking, your belief that you are somehow the exception to the possibility of a different life, that is the least unique thing about you. That is the thing you share with every other human being who's ever stood at a crossroads in their life and talked themselves out of crossing it. So when you catch yourself building the case for why this doesn't apply to you, and you will, because we all do at some point about something, I want you to ask yourself something. Am I being uniquely myself right now, or am I being universally human? Because those are two very different things, and knowing which one you're doing changes everything. So here's something that I want to really take a shot at saying very clearly. Fear is not a sign that you're going in the wrong direction. Fear is just like a weather report. It exists on both sides of every decision that you will ever make. Think about it. There's fear whether you do A or B. There's fear if you go or if you don't go. So it's going to be there no matter what. If you stay, there's fear. Fear of waking up in 5 years, wondering, should I have left? Or why am I feeling like I'm exactly in the same place? Or I thought things were better and now they feel worse. Fear of never finding out what was possible if you go or if you stay. Fear of a life that was smaller than it needed to be. And I'm not just talking about relationally. This happens with people. It just happened to me with my house. Should I leave? Should I not go? Should I sell it? Should I not sell it? Fear, right? Fear on both sides. Should I leave the job? Should I keep the job? Should I stay in the job? Should I? Fear, right? So there's fear on both sides. There's fear of the unknown. There's fear of disappointment. There's fear of reaching too far and falling short. Fear either way. That is the truth of it. So the question is never, how do I get rid of the fear? The question is, which fear am I willing to live with? And this reminds me of the same kind of concept around hard. Wow, that's really hard. Well, leaving is hard, staying is hard. Like, you have to choose your hard. Which hard is actually going to help elevate you and help you grow and expand in your life? And I want you to hear something that's underneath these questions. Specifically the question, which fear am I willing to live with? Because I think that this is really important to say today. You're going to have fear one way or the other. That is pretty much non-negotiable. What's negotiable here is whether that fear belongs to the life that you're avoiding or the life that you're actually wanting. So choose the fear that comes with what you want. And that is no small thing. That is an act of liberation. That is an act of sovereignty. That is you stepping back into the leading role of your own life and saying, I am the one who decides where this goes. Because here's what I see happen when people stay locked in terminal uniqueness. When they keep making the case for why a different life isn't available to them specifically. They hand the leading role of their own story to their fear, to someone else's opinion, to a past that has already happened and can never be changed. And that is always a choice, even when it doesn't feel like one, which means the opposite is also a choice. So I want to leave you with something that you can actually use today, like literally today. Your brain is efficient. Its job is to be efficient. It finds evidence for what it's already looking for. So if you're scanning for proof that things won't work out, you're going to find it everywhere. In every interaction, in every setback, every ambiguous moment, it will find the version that confirms what you already believe. And here is what is equally and completely true. If you decide, I mean really decide, what you're looking for, what you actually want, the life you want to be living, your brain will find evidence for that too, with the same efficiency, with the same relentlessness. So part of the quote, air quote, job here is to build the capacity to hold the energy, the frequency, the thinking, the passion, the imagination, all of the things for the life that you actually want, not the one that you're avoiding. To build out your capacity to hold that vision, to hold that feeling, to hold that imagination, to hold that possibility in aliveness longer and longer and longer. The brain doesn't have an agenda. It has a directive, and you are the one who's giving the directions. So here's your one thing coming out of this episode. the next time your mind locks onto a single outcome, especially a painful one, ask this question. Is this the only possible outcome in the whole universe? Not to land somewhere specific, just to open the door, just to let your mind remember that the future is not written yet, and you're not the exception to the possibility of something better. You are terminally unique, and you are not alone. You are not alone. I'm Ilyse Craft. This is a Change Life podcast. Share this one with someone who needs to hear that their situation is not as impossible as it might feel right now. And I will see you next week. If something in today's episode resonated with you, you'll find a link in the show notes to book a free consultation call. Or you can visit ElyseCraft.com to explore my programs and free resources. Nothing changes until you do. And when you do, everything does. This is a changed life. Not all at once, but for good.